Hey everyone, welcome to Software Testing Mentor and RCV Academy. Today we are here with Priya Sholapure. So she is engineering graduate in 2015. She has been teaching some students in a coaching center for science and maths. She wants to get into the IT and she has done some of the courses from one of the institutes in Hyderabad. So let's welcome Priya. Hi Priya, how are you?
I'm good, sir. How are you?
Thank you. Thanks, Priya. Thanks for joining this call. It's a pleasure to have you, and had a brief conversation with Priya about her previous sort of journey, the things that she has done. She's passionate about teaching. So very good initiative, I would say, Priya, that you have worked with the kids, 10, 12 kids, and you have taught them for free. So very good
Yeah,
initiative there, and I really appreciate that. So Priya,
thank you
before
so
we
much.
get proceed, yes. Yeah, thanks, Priya. So before we proceed, I would like to mention that this video is getting recorded and will be posted for the other viewers. You're fine with that, right?
Yeah, I'm fine with
Okay, great. Okay, so Priya, can you briefly explain or tell me about your professional sort of journey till now, your education and your professional journey till now?
Sure, sir. So I'll start with my name. So yeah, good afternoon, sir. My name is Priya Shivras Solapure. I completed my Bachelor of Engineering in 2015, and after that, I continue my career in teaching field because teaching is my hobby, and I converted my hobby into my career. So this is make because my father is in police. So because of that we shifted to our village, so that is a very we can say rural area or very poor kind of peoples over there. So when I was there, so I have the only one who I have to look my family.
Mhm.
That time I decided to start my something own. That
Yeah,
time I realized that I can continue my hobby as a career, so I continue my passion in my career, sorry, in teaching only.
yeah,
So I love to teach kids. I started from first to till 12th. I continue my journey till 12th. And I especially teach them math. And while teaching, I took some scholarship kind of tuitions also. So I love to say that my 10th student got selected for the Maharashtra scholarship exam. And they are, and few are from them are got selected for Navodaya class also,
great. Yeah.
Navodaya scholarship also. So they are getting their free education in prospective colleges and their schools also. Yeah, there is a kind of semi-English and Marathi medium is there.
Mm.
So I have to teach them in Marathi only, and so that I have little bit of communication gap about English. I continue my teaching field area for 3 years, and after that I got married, and I tried to continue this only in Hyderabad.
Mhm.
So once I came to Hyderabad, I joined the institute. While there, I was teaching for 12 student math, and I took classes for aptitude and reasoning also for the after graduate students for their examination, competitive
Right.
examination.
Yeah,
So yeah, this is
great.
nothing but my whole journey about
Right.
till now.
Great. And then you basically decided that IT, because you are from engineering background, let's move
Yeah.
into IT and software
And
testing.
in this pandemic, this makes me to realize that yeah, I know the situation was really tough
Mhm.
because everything is going very low, market is low, and jobs are less. But software field is like that. It was growing,
That's correct.
continuously growing. So
Yes,
yeah, that may
that's
feel me realize that I have to continue in this field only. So I
absolutely yes.
decided to come here.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I totally understand. Like your passion, if it is not able to pay much that you can run your family, you definitely have to rely on something else. And I
Yes,
totally understand that because I also love teaching, but I know that teaching itself can't sustain my whole family and the expenses. So that's why it has to be there, right? Yeah. Great. I appreciate that what you have done for the kids, and I totally believe that when they grow up, they are in good places. They'll definitely always remember you because this is something the noble cause that very few people do. So great. Let's get back to the testing questions. So, what do you understand by testing in general, and then software testing, basically? So, just testing in general, and then what is software testing?
generally, testing is nothing but whatever you are taking general example like daily life. So whatever we are doing mistake are nothing but the defect in software.
Mhm.
So in general, we are making mistakes. So we are testing ourselves to test and avoid that mistake in future. This is nothing but a general testing. But in software, we have to find that mistake in coding or in whatever it is, document or anything. And after that, we have to check that application, is it running well or not? And this process is nothing but a software test.
Right. Yeah. Okay. So in general, you can take any example from any sphere of life. So for example, COVID pandemic was there, right? They were testing all the samples. So what were they doing? They were getting the samples and then they were trying to identify whether the virus is there in the particular sample or not. So they were doing some sort of testing there, which is laboratory testing of the sample. And then there is a testing of the hardware. There is testing of different hardware, different electronic devices. So whenever you perform some steps on a particular hardware or software to identify whether the quality is good, whether there are no defects as such, when you plug on the TV, it turns on or not, when you change the channel, it works or not. So that sort of things when you perform, when the product is not out of the market, that's what usually general testing is. And then, as you said, software testing is basically when you perform similar sort of things for a software. Great. Okay. Now, you have mentioned about the software requirement specification in your resume. What is SRS, software requirement
Uh,
specification?
yeah, SRS is a requirement which is we are gathering from client. Whatever he wants to in his application, he is just telling us, and we are preparing. We are means the business analyst who is preparing the SRS document. He is clearly mentioning the exact what client wants. So SRS is nothing but that document where we are having the each and every detailed document of what client wants.
Absolutely, yes. So basically, if I want to make something, I will, and I'm the customer, I explain or I basically articulate to the business analyst or product owner, whosoever is managing that application or the development of that. So I explain them and you document that requirement, what exactly I want from that application. So for example, I want to build a website and it's a tutorials website. So I'll articulate, I need to have ability to post the courses, post the blog, etc. Right. So absolutely correct. Good. So you mentioned understanding software requirement specification and identifying the required test scenarios. So what is test scenarios?
Test scenarios are nothing but planning of whatever the requirements are.
Mhm.
So test scenarios come after the test planning.
Mhm.
Whatever the requirement of clients we have, we are
Mhm.
gathering in a well mannered. That
Yeah,
is nothing but a test planning. And in that planning, we are making some test scenarios are there where the one or more test cases are there. So
Mhm.
each and every requirement, individual requirement is nothing but test cases,
Mhm.
and the package of whole test cases are nothing but test scenarios.
You are a bit confused there, Priya. So I think when we say requirement, you are clear. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
But then when we say test scenarios is when you actually start your designing phase. So you have the requirements. From the requirements, say for example, I said I want to build a website wherein course posting facility should be there. So course posting is one of the high level requirements. So what all scenarios or test scenarios, high level scenarios you can think of to test that functionality? That's when you document that high level one liner sort of things or scenarios. That's what scenarios is. And then test cases is an elaborated step by step form of how you are going to test. So test scenario is what you are going to test, and test cases is how you are going to test
How you
basically.
are going.
Right. So that correlation, so requirements, and then you do planning, and then you write the scenarios, basically high level. Say for example, I should have the ability to post the course, upload the video. Okay, so all of these high level scenarios. And then when you say upload the video, so you will be having some steps: click on this button, select the file, and then click on upload button. So when you elaborate this, that's what test cases. Clear?
Okay. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So great. Now you have also mentioned about the software development lifecycle, SDLC and STLC, software testing lifecycle. What is the difference between both of these?
Basically, SDLC contain the whole testing process, whole software development process.
Mhm.
And in STLC, it is particularly for testing purpose. So STLC is a part of SDLC.
Absolutely. Great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are phases in SDLC. Like in first, we are gathering requirement from clients. Second one is designing. Third one is development of that application. And after that, testing of that application and maintenance. In STLC, we are checking for that only testing purpose. So requirements we are collecting. After that, we are creating the test plan, and after that, test cases are prepared. Test execution will be there, and at the last, we are checking the application in STLC.
That's correct. Yeah. Okay. So basically, you have different sort of phases. Even if you don't go into detailed phases, but high level, whatever you have explained is all good. STLC is basically within the SDLC, you have that overall when you manage the testing within the development, that's STLC. All right. You have also mentioned about the defect lifecycle. So what do you understand by defect lifecycle?
So defect life cycle is about totally for defect. So when we are find any defect in whatever the test cases we are getting, that time that defect should be gone through some cycle. Like first it should be a defect, so we have to mention that defect as a new. After that it will come to in progress. After that it will come to the open, and we are in progress. I think in progress it should be there. So that defect should be in progress when developer are working on it to resolve that defect. And after that, once it resolved, it comes to tester and it shows that once we check the defect and it is okay, then we have to close that. That's it. This is nothing but a defect life cycle.
Right. Yeah. Great. Yeah. So basically, whatever process or life cycle a particular defect needs to follow, it's a streamlined process. Because see, if you find a defect and you say you don't have any process to follow, then how will that defect be resolved if it doesn't get assigned, if it doesn't have proper status? Who is going to work on it? Then after fixing it, whom it is going to assign back and what status it will be, right? So that whole process, basically, like when we do some sort of work in general day-to-day life, we define a little bit of process there, right? So that's good. Yes, great. You have mentioned about experience in executing test cases to test the application functionality against the requirement. So what do you understand by test execution or executing the test cases? What do you usually do in that phase?
So while doing the course, we have gone through one project, like Orange HRM project was there.
Yeah.
In that project, we used for writing test cases, we used the TestLink tool. So in that, we first created a suite for the test, whatever the test cases are there.
Yeah.
And inside that, we are writing test cases for each and everything, like for ID, for password, and after that login button. So we are writing test cases over there. And after that, we are matching the expected result and actual result.
Right.
If the expected result and actual result are really matching, then that test case should be passed. And if that not matching, then it will go to the passed or failed.
Failed. Yeah. Okay. So basically, in the execution phase, usually whatever test cases you have documented in the TestLink tool, you use to basically execute those. So basically, there is a cycle that you create, run it, and if expected is matches actual result, then you pass it. Otherwise, you fail it. Yes. So basically, you actually launch the application. So you can add this point as well. Like in execution phase, you actually launch the application and then perform the real steps on the application. So for example, Orange HRM that you mentioned, right? CRM tool. So you launch Orange CRM and then you perform, say, for example, if it is a login test, so you provided username, password, clicked on login button and verified whether login was successful. If successful, then you pass it. So that's what you do in execution phase, right? So everywhere, it doesn't matter how complex the project is, this is what you're going to do in the execution, right? Okay, great. So your understanding around execution is okay. You mentioned about the TestLink as well. So what do you understand by TestLink, and did they explain you what TestLink is all about?
So about TestLink, we just know that about how to create the test suite inside that and how to write the test cases. That's it.
Right.
Whatever the test planning and other things are, they said that nothing our job. That's why I don't understand the other part. But I know how to write test cases and how to execute it.
Right. Okay. Okay. That's yeah, that shouldn't, that's how, I mean, I don't recommend that they should be doing it, that it's not your job, but at least from the tool perspective, they should have given you a brief overview. So TestLink
I
is
just know about how to
how
write
to write.
test.
Yeah, that's what you will be doing initially, but then understanding. So TestLink is a test management tool, which is open source. So it's free of cost available. And it's very simple. All of those test management tool will be basically similar sort of functionality. So you'll have test case repository. So you write all the test cases structure wise. You can create folders and manage all your test cases. Then you create cycles, add those test cases in test cycle and execute those. So when we say test cycle, have they explained you anything about the test cycle? Why do we create cycles, test cycles? No idea. Okay. Okay. So usually, say for example, as a team, we started building something. Okay. And after 3 weeks, there is some code that will be deployed. All right. So once that code is deployed, the version it's, say for example, version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right. Now you create a test cycle to test whatever has been implemented in that version 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So in that test cycle, you pull all the test cases that are relevant to that cycle and you execute, so that there is a bit of tagging, right? Otherwise, if you don't have the cycle, don't have the version, so how would you know that after 3 weeks there is another build, okay, or another version? Right? Like in the apps, in your phone apps, you see different versions, right? So against which version did you test? So that's where these cycles help, test cycles help, so that you can track that correlation. And then there is a lot of other things that you can mention the build number in the test case when you have that cycle. So you can have build and release numbers. That's good. That's okay. This is a bit of advanced thing. You will understand that when you get into the job. That's okay. You have also mentioned about the JIRA. So how did you use JIRA in the institute?
JIRA, it is specifically for the defect management.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. They used it for defect management. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So inside it, in testing, whatever the defect I found,
Mm-hmm.
that defect I recalled in JIRA.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever the ID of that defect, I should check that inside it, and it should send to the developer. Whatever the defect is there, he will be correct it and send me. The process is like, whenever I am putting that is a defect, then it should be a new, so that when it is in progress, so the developer was working it, and after that it will come to me to recheck again.
Mm-hmm.
After retesting it, I should close that status, because if it is matching with my expected result, with
Mm-hmm.
an actual result, then I should close it. Otherwise, I should talk with my supervisor,
Mm-hmm.
or else can request to developer to means recorrect it.
Right. So basically reopen if it is not working and reassign it. Yeah. Okay. Great. So basically Jira is not only just defect management tool, it's much more, it's an agile project management tool, but we don't want to get into those details. But Jira has built-in defect management, which you have used. So as a software tester, you would be sort of using Jira for the same activity. Okay. All right. So yeah, I think we are good as of now. I've asked whatever manual testing keywords that you have mentioned in your resume. Anything you want to ask before we get into the feedback?
You can ask about testing, type of testing, and
Okay. So Priya, the next question is basically what are test levels? And can you explain me what are different test levels?
yeah, the test level in testings are basically four types. Like, first one is a unit testing,
Mhm.
second is integration, third is system testing, and the last one is user acceptance.
Right. Great. Can you elaborate a little bit on these levels, 4 levels?
Yeah, sure. So in unit testing, basically we are checking the single module or single software program. We are testing inside the unit testing.
Mhm.
So it is totally done by the developer, because while writing the code, he is checking that
Mhm.
this is nothing but the unit testing. And
Mhm.
in integration testing, we are checking the whole functionality. Like, it is based upon the incremental model. Like, inside integration testing, we are checking top down approach and bottom up approach.
Mhm.
So yeah, in integration, we are checking the functionality, or the whatever the single modules are there, we are integrating that, and after that we are testing that module.
That's correct. Yeah.
And in system testing, we are checking the whole functionality of that module or application.
Mhm.
While checking the functionality in system testing, there are two types, like functional and non-functional testing.
Mhm.
So inside the functional testing, there are types like error handling testing and database testing.
Mhm.
After that, the basic testing is included in the functional testing.
Mhm.
And after that, about non-functional testing, I can say that inside that the compatibility testing over there, and installation testing, performance
Mm.
testing is
Right.
including in non-functional testing.
Right.
And in user acceptance testing is done by client and developer tester, means
Mhm.
both team will be there. So basically there will be a beta testing and alpha testing. Alpha testing is totally done by client and beta
Mhm.
testing is developer done by the tester and developer.
Mhm.
So yeah, this is the brief explanation about the level of.
Right, great. So yes, overall good answer there about the levels, and you have elaborated all those levels as well. Now, I would like to know, what do you understand by regression testing, and what usually we do in regression testing?
About regression testing, it is nothing but we are taking the modified one module or whatever the build is there, we are modifying. That
Hmm.
only we are checking in regression testing, and it is comes in the new whenever the new release will be there. That time we are adding those features, whatever we checked in the regression testing.
Right. So basically, in a crux, any changes being done in the software, whether it's because of the defect
Yeah.
fix or new feature being added. So any new thing that is being added, it should not impact any existing functionality, right? So that's what we verify when we do the regression testing, right? So the existing functionality is working intact and it has not been impacted with any of the code changes, whether it's because of the defect fix or because of the new feature added. Okay. All right. Now, what are some of the black box test design techniques that you are aware of?
Yeah, black box testing techniques are for a tester only. So black box testing is totally done by tester, and inside that there are three types. First one is equivalence testing, and second one is boundary value analysis is there, and the last one is error guessing.
Mm-hmm.
So inside the boundary value analysis, we are checking that we are providing some values.
Mm-hmm.
So maximum and minimum limits we are giving for the equivalence.
Mm-hmm.
Like if there is a number between 1 to 1 lakh, so we are checking that number is equal to 1 lakh and 1 also. So that is nothing but the equivalence testing, and inside that also two classes are there. One is valid and invalid class.
Mm-hmm.
And about second one, boundary value analysis, inside we are provide a maximum and minimum boundary for that
Mm-hmm.
particular number or whatever is there.
Mm-hmm.
So boundary value analysis, we are specifically done for the range purpose.
Yeah.
And yeah, and the last one is, it is error guessing. So we are just
The,
guessing if it
yeah.
may be error or
Mhm.
something.
Yeah, so there are more than that. So there is like cause effect and not only three, but yes, equivalence partitioning, boundary value analysis. You use knowingly and unknowingly, you use them. So boundary value, say for example, you have a text box and that text box accepts values between 1 to 1,000 numbers. So you test the boundaries. You test one, you try to input one and you try to input 1,000, you try to input 1,001 and you try to input zero. So when you test these sort of things, that's boundary value. And then partition is basically the valid and invalid partition, because you know that the text box is going to accept 1 to 1,000. So 1 to 1,000 is a valid partition. 1,001 and above is an invalid partition. So these things, and why these are helpful, because they help you to not randomly test. They help you to minimize your test cases and have a better coverage. Okay. So good understanding there, but I would recommend read a little more and get a sort of a practical examples. Okay. So do watch. Have you watched my videos on manual testing? Like there are 50 videos altogether.
Actually, I saw the interviews only, whatever you
Okay.
are taken on.
Okay. Go ahead and watch those
I'll
49, 50
yes,
videos.
I love to watch.
Yeah, you will get the practical answers and how you have to answer all of these things. Okay. I'm pretty sure it will
Okay,
be beneficial. I'm not sort of saying that you definitely go and watch, but yes, go ahead and see if
no,
you
no,
understand one or two videos, it
yeah,
will be helpful. Okay. All right. So I think that's pretty much it, Priya, for today. We are a little bit over time. We can connect again if you want to give another mock interview, because these are anyways will help you to boost your confidence and how you answer. Okay. So let's move to the feedback. Okay. So around your resume, you need
okay,
to work a little bit on your resume. Make sure that you input all the main keywords, the knowledge that you have gathered, the experience that you have, everything around testing needs to be there in your keyword. Okay, because that's how interviewer will understand. First thing is, recruiter will browse through your resume, the first page, and they'll say, yes, the person has these skills, they'll shortlist you. Okay, if you don't mention it, your resume itself won't get shortlisted. The second thing is, interviewer will basically ask, they'll see the resume and they'll pick the details from the resume and they'll ask from there, and from there itself they'll build more sort of questions. So it's not just that everything will be from resume, but then from resume they'll start and then they'll move to the practical sort of approach. That's the first thing. Second thing is, your communication is good. Okay, you need to keep little bit improving on that. I don't see any problem with your communication skill. The way you answer, the way you articulate your answers is all good. You just need to be little bit more confident. Okay, because whatever you know, you know. Whatever you don't know, you don't know. Just keep that in mind, that nobody knows everything. Okay, so if you don't know, you don't know. Okay, so you can mention that, and whatever you know, you can explain around that and explain confidently, because your communication is good. So you should be absolutely fine in the IT industry, and very soon you will be there. That's the feedback I have. Brush up your testing skills more, because you are not able to connect the dots. Okay, so when I say connect the dots, it's basically, you know the concepts, but then you need to explain them in a practical way. All right, so that's the only feedback I have. But based on what you have learned till now in just a couple of, I think, months, right, it is absolutely really good, because you have practically done some sort of documenting the test cases, executing those. So you do have practical exposure, and another 15, 20, 30 days, I think you will be totally at a different level. Okay, so just keep learning, keep reading more. All right, so when I say reading more, go ahead and get the ISTQB book. Okay, ISTQB Foundation. Read that book, because that book will give you a very good understanding of the structured approach to testing. That was the first book that I read, and that's when I moved to basically testing full time. Okay, that's what my recommendation is. But apart from that, you are confident, you have learned well, just keep doing it and you will be absolutely fine. Okay, all right, so if there are no questions, then thank you very much, Priya. It was a pleasure talking to you.
I have questions, sir.
Oh, please go ahead. Yes.
About resume, can I make it properly and send it to you, and can we reconnect again?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. So there is a video that I posted on resume, how to create a resume. And then there is a
Okay.
sample template as well. You don't need to make it very fancy. Okay, first thing, you just have to format it well, and you have to put the right set of content. Go ahead and watch that video, download that same template, update everything that you have learned. Okay, send it back, and we'll reconnect again.
Okay. And one more thing, sir. While answering the questions, do we really need to give practical examples on that? Means,
It's
like,
good.
I'm not dots, that's why I'm
It's not absolutely necessary. Okay, so based on what you have answered, you are very close to selection. Okay, I mean, if an interviewer is like me, I would have selected you. Okay, because when I interview people, I see the attitude, I see their willingness to learn. Okay, so I usually, if you have learned this much in this time frame, I would have definitely selected you. Okay, but then there are many people who are very picky, that you should know this, you should know this, why you can't, you should be a pro and expert in this. So those sort of people might reject you. Okay, so that's where, but it's all, I mean, not everyone cracks all the interview. It's just one interview that you have to crack, right? So
that's why I'm preparing for now.
yes. Okay, so don't worry, you will be absolutely fine. I'm pretty sure in a month or two you will be giving me some good news that you are already placed somewhere. Okay,
Thank you, sir.
anything else?
That's no, sir. That's it.
Okay, great. All right, thank you, Priya. It was pleasure talking to you. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.